The little girl lifted a French fry from the abandoned plate at the next table, looked at her mother, and quietly put it back. I saw the movement only because my son Noah had stopped talking. "Dad," he whispered, leaning across our booth. "They haven't eaten." Across the crowded restaurant, a young woman sat beneath a flickering neon sign with one hand wrapped around a water glass and the other resting on her daughter's shoulder. 2 menus lay closed in front of them. Every few minutes the woman checked the clock above the kitchen doors, then looked through the front window at the rain. I knew that look. It was the face of someone counting minutes, dollars, and possible disasters at the same time. I also knew how quickly help could become humiliation. So I didn't call the waitress. I didn't send over food. I stood, picked up the enormous platter of chicken, biscuits, and mashed potatoes that Noah and I could never finish, and walked across the room with my 7-year-old beside me. The woman's shoulders tightened before I said a word. "My son believes we have ordered enough food for a football team," I said. "He's probably right. Would you help us keep the restaurant from throwing half of it away?" She looked at the platter, then at me. "I can pay for whatever we eat," she said. "No," I replied, "but you can settle an argument. Noah says the biscuits are better with honey. I say jam." The little girl's eyes moved toward Noah. Noah held up both hands. "Honey," he said solemnly, "it's not even close." For the first time, the mother smiled. That smile would change all 4 of our lives, though none of us knew it yet. Before I tell you how, let us know where you are listening from today. And if you believe kindness should protect a person's dignity instead of taking it away, stay with us until the end. My name is Daniel Reyes. I was 30 years old that spring, a paramedic with the Des Moines Fire Department, and the single father of a 7-year-old boy who noticed more than I did. We lived in a narrow brick house on the east side of the city, 3 blocks from Noah's school and 2 blocks from a park where the swings squeaked no matter how often the city oiled them. My wife, Elena, had died 3 years earlier after a sudden brain aneurysm. Since then, I had become very good at schedules. I packed lunches on Sunday nights, laid out Noah's clothes before bed, and kept 3 alarms on my phone for every school event. I knew how to stop bleeding, restart a heart, and carry a frightened stranger down 2 flights of stairs. I did not know how to make our house feel alive again. That Friday, Noah had earned a restaurant dinner after finishing his first full month of reading without pretending the words had become blurry. We chose Miller's Table because it served breakfast all day, and because Elena had once claimed their cinnamon biscuits could repair a broken heart. The woman across from us introduced herself as Claire Morgan. She was 26, exactly 4 years younger than me. Her daughter was 5-year-old Lucy, a serious child with dark braids and a purple raincoat. Claire hesitated before moving to our booth. When she finally did, she kept her purse on her lap and placed Lucy on the inside seat, farthest from the aisle. It was not fear, it was habit. I had seen the same posture in patients who had learned that safety could change without warning. Noah gave Lucy the basket of biscuits as if he were presenting royal treasure. "You can have the first one," he said. Lucy looked at her mother. Claire nodded. "1." Lucy selected the smallest biscuit. Noah frowned. "That one is mostly crust." "I like crust." "No one likes crust." "I do." That was their first disagreement and the beginning of a friendship neither adult had planned. Claire ate slowly. She divided every serving before taking any for herself. When the waitress offered refills, Claire declined before realizing they were free. She never explained why she and Lucy had been sitting with only water, and I did not ask. Instead, we talked about ordinary things. Noah described a class project involving mealworms. Lucy announced that worms had feelings. Claire said she worked mornings at a physical therapy clinic and spent evenings taking prerequisite classes for nursing school. I told her I worked 24-hour shifts and had an unhealthy relationship with vending machine coffee. "You're a paramedic?" she asked. "Most days." "What are you on the other days?" "Laundry manager, lunch packing supervisor, unlicensed math tutor." Noah shook his head. "He's bad at division." Claire laughed, and this time the sound stayed longer. When the meal ended, she reached for the check. I placed my hand over the paper before she could take it. Her eyes sharpened. "This was not charity," I said. "It was portion control. I told you I could pay." "And I believe you. But the food was already ours." She studied me for several seconds, then pulled 2 folded bills from her purse and left them beneath the sugar jar. "For the tip," she said. I wanted to argue. Instead, I nodded. Outside, rain drummed against the awning. The parking lot shone beneath the street lights. Claire and Lucy stood near an old silver sedan with its hood raised. "That explains the clock," I said. Claire gave me a tired look. "The tow company said 45 minutes. That was 90 minutes ago." I glanced beneath the hood. One battery terminal had come loose and was crusted with corrosion. It was not a repair I would trust for long, but it was enough to get them home. "Can tighten that," I said. "Only if you want me to." She looked surprised by the last sentence. "You know what you're doing?" "I know how not to touch metal with the wrong wrench." "That is not comforting. It is the best certification I have outside emergency medicine." Noah and Lucy stood beneath the awning, comparing the restaurant's paper placemats. Claire stepped aside. "All right," she said, "but if the car explodes, I am blaming you." It did not explode. 10 minutes later, the engine started. Claire closed her eyes for one brief second when she heard it turn over. Relief softened her face, and I understood that the car had been more than transportation. It was her route to work, Lucy's ride to school, and perhaps the thin line holding together a life with no room for missed shifts. I gave her the name of a mechanic I trusted. "Tell him Daniel from Station 8 sent you," I said. "He'll explain what needs doing before he charges anything." Her expression changed again. "I don't need a discount." I didn't offer one. I said he would explain the bill first. That earned me another small smile. She wrote her phone number on the back of a receipt. "In case your repair kills the car halfway home," she said. "Fair." The sedan pulled out of the parking lot. Noah stood beside me beneath the awning, his hood dripping. "Do you think we'll see them again?" he asked. Des Moines was not a small town, but it had a small town way of returning people to one another. "I don't know," I said. Noah watched the red taillights disappear into the rain. "I hope we do." I hope so, too, which frightened me more than it should have. We saw them 9 days later at the Franklin Community Center. Noah and I were there for a Saturday safety fair. My station had been assigned a booth where children could climb through an ambulance, try on a helmet, and learn how to call 911 without using the emergency line to report a stolen cookie. I was showing a group of children how to wrap a bandage when Noah ran past me. "Lucy!" She stood near the gym doors holding a paper cup of lemonade. Her whole face changed when she saw him. Claire was beside her, stacking donated books on a folding table. For 1 second, Claire looked as startled as she had in the restaurant. Then she relaxed. "The car survived," she said when I walked over. "My reputation is safe." "Barely. The mechanic replaced the terminal and showed me the old part before he charged me." "He's annoyingly honest." "He also said you told him not to reduce the price." I shrugged. "You said you didn't want a discount." "I did. You looked like you meant it." She looked at me for a long moment. "Most people hear the words," she said. "They don't always listen to them." I did not know what to say to that, so I helped her move a box of books. Claire volunteered at the center twice a month. The building offered tutoring, free tax preparation, senior lunches, and a small food pantry tucked behind the gym. She was helping with a children's reading program because Lucy loved books, and because, as Claire put it, someone has to stop the dinosaurs from being shelved with the cookbooks. Noah and Lucy disappeared into the activity room. Claire and I spent the next hour arranging paperbacks by age level. She told me she had moved to Des Moines 8 months earlier after separating from Lucy's father, Grant. They had never married. He lived in Kansas City and saw Lucy irregularly, usually after making promises he did not keep. "I'm not telling you that so you'll dislike him," Claire said. "I'm telling you because people tend to ask." I wasn't going to. I know. She slid a stack of picture books onto a shelf. "What about Noah's mother?" The question still had edges, but fewer than before. "She died," I said, 3 years ago. Claire stopped moving. "Daniel, I'm sorry." "Thank you." People probably say the wrong thing. Usually they tell me I'm strong. "And you hate that." "I don't hate it, I just never know what it means." She nodded as though she understood more than I had explained. "My mother died when I was 16, she said. "Afterward, people told me I had to be strong for my younger brother. What they meant was that my grief made them uncomfortable." We stood between shelves of donated books while children shouted in the next room. Something quiet passed between us. Not romance, not yet, but recognition. Before we left, Noah convinced Lucy to join the center's after-school art club. Claire and I compared schedules. I had Noah every day except alternating weekends with Elena's parents. Claire's work shift ended 30 minutes after the club dismissed. "I can bring Lucy home on Thursdays," I said. "We live close to you." She immediately shook her head. "No, I'll figure it out." "All right." The speed of my answer surprised her. I took out my phone. "The offer is here if you need it. You don't have to decide now." 2 Thursdays later, Claire texted, "Is the ride offer still available? I can pay for gas." I wrote back, "The offer is available. Gas payment denied. You can repay me by explaining fractions to Noah." That was how our Thursdays began. At first, everything was practical. I picked up the children, drove Lucy home, and waited on the porch until Claire arrived. Sometimes she was 10 minutes late, sometimes 20. She always texted before the official pickup time, apologizing as though traffic were a moral failure. By the 4th week, she stopped apologizing. By the 6th, she invited us inside for grilled cheese. Claire's apartment was on the 2nd floor of an old house divided into 3 units. The kitchen floor sloped toward the back door. One cabinet refused to close. Lucy's drawings covered the refrigerator, held by magnets from places neither of them had visited. Noah sat at the table while Claire explained fractions with slices of apple. "If I cut this into 4 pieces and you eat one, what fraction is left?" she asked. 3/4. "If Lucy eats one?" 1/2. "If your father eats the rest?" "No dessert for him." Claire looked at me. "He understands consequences. That's important." I began looking forward to Thursdays with an eagerness I tried to disguise. Claire and I talked while the children worked. She told me about anatomy exams and the elderly patients at the clinic who pretended not to understand their exercises because they wanted someone to stay longer. I told her about Noah's habit of sleeping with the hallway light on, and my fear that I was confusing consistency with love. "You show up," she said. "Children know the difference." "Do they?" "They always do." The first time she touched my arm, it was an accident. She reached across me for a dish towel, and her fingers brushed my sleeve. I felt the contact for the rest of the evening. That embarrassed me. I had loved Elena. Part of me still did. For years I believed that noticing another woman would reduce what Elena had been to me, as though love were a room with one chair. Claire never asked me to remove Elena's photographs. She did not compete with a memory. When Noah mentioned his mother, Claire listened. When he wanted to change the subject, she let him. That kindness reached me more deeply than anything she could have said. In May, the community center announced a fundraising dinner to repair its leaking roof. Claire volunteered to coordinate the children's table. I agreed to run first aid coverage and somehow ended up responsible for the silent auction after the director claimed firefighters made people bid more. You are not a firefighter, Claire reminded me.
Wear the same shirt. That is deceptive marketing. We spent 3 evenings at the center making signs. Noah and Lucy painted arrows that pointed in opposite directions. Claire stood on a chair to hang paper lanterns, and I steadied the back without touching her. You can hold the chair, she said. I am holding the chair. You're hovering near it. I respect structural independence. She laughed and reached down. Daniel. I placed both hands on the chair. Thank you. It was such a small exchange, but it held the shape of everything growing between us. She asked. I listened. Nothing was taken for granted. The night of the dinner, a thunderstorm rolled over the city. Rain struck the gym windows and the lights flickered while 200 people balanced paper plates on their knees. Then the power failed. The room went black. Children screamed, chairs scraped, someone dropped a tray. My training took over. I turned on my flashlight, called for everyone to remain seated, and moved toward the electrical panel. Before I reached it, Claire's voice rose from the children's table. Lucy, start the dinosaur song. A small voice began singing off key in the darkness. Noah joined her. Within seconds, 20 children were roaring about a vegetarian Tyrannosaurus. Their fear turned to laughter. Claire moved among them with the calm of someone who knew panic became smaller when given a job. She passed out battery candles from the craft cabinet and assigned older children to sit with younger ones. The emergency lights came on, pale and weak. I found Claire near the storage room. You were good in there, I said. So were you. I shouted instructions. You made people believe you knew what to do. I did know what to do. Exactly. We stood close in the dim hallway. Rain hammered the roof. A loose strand of hair had fallen across her cheek. I wanted to move it, but I did not. Claire looked at my mouth. Then the building generator coughed to life, and the hallway filled with harsh fluorescent light. We stepped apart at the same time. Later, after the crowd left, we carried trash bags to the alley. The storm had passed. Water ran along the curb and the air smelled like wet pavement and lilacs. Claire leaned against the brick wall. I almost kissed you, she said. My heart struck hard enough to feel foolish. I almost kissed you too. Why didn't you? I wasn't sure you wanted me to. I did. I moved one step closer. Do you still? Her answer was to take the front of my shirt in her hand. The kiss was gentle, then uncertain, then warm enough to make the whole dark alley disappear. When we separated, she kept her forehead against mine. This is complicated, she whispered. Yes. I have Lucy. I know. You have Noah. I know. I don't want either of them getting attached to something we haven't figured out. Then we go slowly. She searched my face. You're good at slowly? No. That made her laugh against my shoulder. But I can learn, I said. For the next month, we built something careful. We had coffee after school drop-off. We took the children to the farmer's market and let them choose vegetables they later refused to eat. Claire and I sat on her back steps after bedtime, talking in low voices while mosquitoes found every inch of exposed skin. I learned that she hated carnations, loved old mystery novels, and sang quietly when she was nervous. She learned that I ironed pillowcases,
avoided amusement park rides, and still kept Elena's last voicemail on an old phone in my dresser. One evening, I played it for her. Elena's voice filled the kitchen, cheerful and rushed, reminding me to buy milk and telling me she loved me. When it ended, I could not look at Claire. She reached across the table and rested her hand beside mine, not on it. "You don't have to delete her to make room for me," she said.
That was the moment I knew I was falling in love. It was also the moment I became afraid enough to make a terrible mistake. The restaurant owner from Miller's Table called me in early June. He remembered the night we had met Claire and Lucy. A waitress had taken a photograph from across the room. 4 of us in the booth, Noah holding up a biscuit, Lucy laughing, Claire turned partly away. The restaurant was starting a Share the Table campaign. Customers could buy an extra meal for someone who needed one. The owner wanted to use the photograph on social media. "It's a good story," he said. "Kid sees a hungry family, dad makes room. People need stories like that." I should have said no. I should have asked Claire. Instead, I looked at the photograph and saw what I wanted to see. 2 children smiling, 2 tired parents finding one another, a moment of kindness that had led to something beautiful. I did not see the closed menus. I did not see Claire's purse clutched in her lap. I did not see how easily strangers would turn her hardest night into a lesson about my character. "She's private," I said. "We don't have to use names." That made it feel safe. I agreed. The post appeared on a Monday morning. By noon, it had been shared 12,000 times. The caption began, "When a local single dad saw a struggling mother who couldn't feed her child, he stood up." My name was included because the restaurant wanted to thank Station 8. Claire's was not, but her face was visible, so was Lucy's. Comments praised me. People called me a hero. A radio station requested an interview. Someone started a collection for The Hungry Mother, though no one knew who she was. At 1:17, Claire called. Her voice was so calm that I knew immediately something was wrong. "Did you give them permission to use that picture?" I stood from the station kitchen table. "Claire, did you?" "Yes." Silence. "I didn't think they would describe it like that." "You didn't think?" "I was going to call the owner. I can have it removed." "My supervisor saw it, Daniel." My stomach dropped. One of the patients showed her. 2 mothers at Lucy's preschool recognized us. Grant's sister sent it to him. "I'm sorry." "You told the whole city my daughter was hungry." "I didn't tell them anything. The restaurant wrote, 'You gave them the picture.'" There was no anger in her voice yet. Anger would have been easier. "I thought it might help the meal program," I said. "And you thought our faces would make people give more." I closed my eyes. She continued, each word controlled. "You turned the worst night I have had since moving here into proof that you are a good man. That isn't what I wanted, but it is what you allowed." I sat down. Around me, the station kitchen went on as usual. The refrigerator hummed. A radio crackled in the next room. Someone laughed near the lockers. Claire's breath shook once. "Do you know why we had only water that night?" "No." "My debit card had been frozen after a fraudulent charge. I had $27 in cash. The tow company wanted $25 before they would come. I was not unable to feed my child. I was making a decision for one night so I could get her home." "I understand." "No, you understand now, after strangers have already decided who I am." I had no defense that did not make things worse. "I should have asked you." "Yes." "I will get it removed." "Yes. Claire, I need you not to come by tonight." Her voice broke on the last word. Then the call ended. I contacted the restaurant immediately. The owner apologized and deleted the post, but copies had already spread. I declined the radio interview. I asked the restaurant to post a correction stating that the image had been used without the mother's consent
and that the original caption had made assumptions it had no right to make.
The correction received fewer than 100 shares. The original story kept moving. 3 days later, Grant filed an emergency petition requesting temporary custody of Lucy. His lawyer attached screenshots of the post as evidence that Claire could not provide basic necessities. Claire did not tell me. I learned from a voicemail Grant left at the fire station after finding my work number online. "You want to play family with my kid?" he said. "You can explain to a judge why you had to feed her." I drove to Claire's apartment after my shift and stopped before climbing the stairs. She had asked me not to come. So I stayed in my truck and called. She answered after 6 rings. "I know about the petition," I said. Another silence. "I can write a statement." "No." "I can explain what happened." "No, Daniel. My decision caused this. Your decision gave him a weapon. Grant caused this. I want to help." "I know. That is the problem." The words landed because they were true. I gripped the steering wheel. "What do you need me to do?" "Nothing right now." Every part of me resisted. I wanted to call lawyers, collect records, solve the crisis before it reached her door. I had spent 10 years entering emergencies without waiting to be invited. But this was not my emergency to command. "All right," I said. She sounded surprised. "I'll wait until you ask." For 2 weeks I did exactly that. I did not disappear. I took Noah to the community center on Thursdays. I answered Lucy when she waved from across the art room, but I did not approach Claire. I sent one message after the court's first hearing date was set. "I am here." No reply needed. She did not reply. At home, Noah asked why Lucy no longer rode with us. "I made a choice about Claire and Lucy without asking them," I said. "It hurt them. Like when you make me wear the blue sweater?" "Bigger than that." "The blue sweater really itches." "I know." He considered this. "Did you say sorry?"
"Yes."
"Did it fix it?"
"No." Noah looked down at his cereal. "Mom used to say sorry means you do different next time." Elena had said that. I had forgotten. Your mom was right. I removed my name from the restaurant campaign. Then I asked the owner to change the program completely. No photographs, no stories about recipients, no public board listing who bought and who received. Customers could add a meal to a general account. Anyone could ask for one without explanation. The owner agreed. I did not tell Claire. An apology that demanded to be witnessed was still a performance. The custody hearing took place on a Wednesday in late June. I knew the time because Claire had once mentioned it before the post. I spent that morning checking my phone between calls, hating myself for hoping she would contact me. At 2:40, a message appeared. "Can you meet me at Franklin after your shift?" I arrived at 6. The center was nearly empty. Claire sat alone in the gym bleachers while Lucy colored at a table with a volunteer. I stopped several feet away. "Can I sit?" She nodded. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "The judge denied Grant's emergency request," she said. "He also ordered a full custody review in August." "That is good, isn't it?" "It is not bad." She rubbed her palms together. "My lawyer wants a statement from you. Only facts. The condition of the car. What I said about the tow. That I offered to pay. I'll write whatever she asks. No hero language. None. No opinions about Grant. None." She looked toward Lucy. "I hated needing your statement." "I know. I hated that your mistake made it necessary." "I know. And I hated missing you." My breath caught. Claire turned toward me, eyes bright with anger and exhaustion. "You do not get to look relieved." "I'm trying not to." "You are failing." "I missed you too." She wiped beneath one eye.
I don't know if I trust you yet. You shouldn't pretend you do.
That answer seemed to matter. I continued. I saw a photograph of something important to me, and I forgot that it was also a photograph of the most vulnerable night of your year. I thought because my intentions were good, I had the right to choose. I didn't. No. I'm sorry. She nodded once. We sat in silence while Lucy changed crayons. I found out the restaurant changed the program, Claire said. I looked at her. The owner told me when he called to apologize. I should have asked you before suggesting changes. You did not use our picture. No. You did not tell anyone it was because of us. No. A small breath left her. That was different. It will be different from now on. I can't promise you there is a from now on. I know. But when she stood, she touched my shoulder. It was not forgiveness. It was not nothing. August arrived hot and heavy. The custody review approached. Claire's nursing school interview was scheduled for the same week. She lived with a stack of documents on her kitchen table and a permanent line between her eyebrows. I kept my distance where she asked and showed up where she invited. We were no longer kissing. We were not dating. We were something less comfortable and more honest. Two people deciding whether affection could survive accountability. The children made that decision harder and easier. Noah missed Lucy openly. Lucy asked whether Daniel's car was broken. Claire eventually agreed to meet us at the park for 1 hour on Sunday afternoons. The first Sunday we sat at opposite ends of a bench. The second we shared a bag of popcorn. The third she asked whether I had eaten lunch. "Is this a test?" I said. "Yes." "Then I had a sandwich." "What kind?" "Turkey." "You pass." At the end of July, my station responded to a collision on Interstate 235. A delivery van had crossed the median. 3 cars were involved. I was treating a driver when I heard a child crying from the second vehicle. The sound was high and terrified. For one disorienting second, it sounded like Noah. My hands stopped, only for a second. My partner called my name and training returned. We worked the scene for 40 minutes. No one died. The child had a broken wrist. The driver I treated went to surgery in stable condition. Afterward, I sat on the rear step of the ambulance and could not unclench my hands. My captain offered to drive me home. I said no. Then I called Claire. She answered immediately. "What happened?" I told her. "Where are you?" "At the station." "Is Noah with your in-laws?" "Yes." "I'm coming. You don't have to. I know." She arrived 20 minutes later, carrying 2 coffees and no questions. We sat outside behind the station while the sunset turned the clouds orange. "I heard him cry," I said. "And for a second I was back in the hospital when Elena died. I thought life was taking someone else before I could stop it." Claire placed her hand over mine. "You cannot stop every loss." "I know that here." I touched my head. "The rest of me hasn't learned." "I spent years believing that if I planned every dollar and every minute, Lucy would never feel unstable. Then one photograph almost changed a custody case. Control is a story we tell ourselves when uncertainty is too frightening." I looked at her. "Are you forgiving me?" "I am telling you I understand why you made the mistake. That is not the same thing." "Fair." She squeezed my hand. "But I am also telling you I am here." This time when we kissed, there was no storm, no darkness, and no dramatic interruption. We sat behind a fire station beside 2 cooling cups of coffee, and she kissed me because she chose to. The custody review came 2 weeks later. I gave my written statement and answered questions by video. I described the loose battery terminal, the delayed tow, the cash Claire had reserved, and the fact that she offered to pay for the food. I did not describe her as brave, devoted, or deserving, though she was all 3. Those words were not evidence. More importantly, they were not mine to use as decoration. Grant received scheduled visitation, not primary custody. The court found no evidence that Claire had failed to provide for Lucy. When Claire called with the result, I was making spaghetti. "We won," she said. The word "we" hung between us. "You won," I corrected gently. She was quiet. "Come over," she said. "Bring Noah. I bought a cake I cannot afford and intend to regret." We celebrated in her sloping kitchen. Lucy covered the cake with too many candles. Noah made a speech about justice that included several incorrect legal terms. After the children fell asleep on a pile of blankets in the living room, Claire and I stood by the sink. "I got into the nursing program," she said.
I turned. "You did?" "It starts in January." "That's incredible." "It is in Cedar Rapids." 2 hours away. The joy in me collided with fear. Claire watched my face carefully. "I haven't decided," she said. "There is also a wait list here, but no guarantee." I wanted to tell her to stay. I wanted to offer rent, childcare, transportation, every solution my mind could build. Instead, I asked, "What do you want?" Her eyes filled. "No one has asked me that without already hoping for a certain answer." "I am hoping." "I know, but I am asking anyway." She leaned against the counter. "I want to be a nurse. I want Lucy to have stability. I want Grant's visits to be manageable, and I want—" She stopped. "What?" "You." I moved closer, but did not touch her. "You can want all of those things," I said. "What if they do not fit?" "Then we find out honestly. I will not ask you to make yourself smaller so I can feel safe." She closed the distance between us. "I love you," she whispered. The words struck deeper than the kiss that followed. "I love you too." Claire accepted the Cedar Rapids program. For 6 months, our relationship lived on highways, calendars, and tired phone calls. She and Lucy rented a small apartment near campus during the week and returned to Des Moines most weekends. Some Fridays I drove east with Noah. Some Sundays Claire drove west before sunrise. It was not easy. We argued about fuel costs, missed calls, and whether I was trying to solve her exhaustion when she only wanted me to listen. Once I drove 2 hours with groceries she had not requested. She made me take half of them home. But we learned. I asked before helping. She asked before assuming I was taking over. The children learned that love could be reliable even when it crossed distance. In October, the Des Moines nursing program offered Claire a transferred place for the spring term after another student withdrew. She accepted because it was the better choice for her finances, Lucy's custody schedule, and her own support system, not because I asked. I did not. The following March, almost 1 year after the restaurant, Claire and Lucy moved into a duplex 4 blocks from our house. Not with us, near us. "That matters," Claire said when we signed no papers together and carried no boxes across a shared threshold. "It does," I agreed. We were building a family without pretending that closeness required surrender. On the anniversary of the night we met, Noah insisted we return to Miller's Table. The restaurant looked the same. The neon sign still flickered. The booths still had cracked red vinyl. Near the register, a small card explained the Share the Table account. "Need a meal? Ask your server. No story required." No photographs covered the wall. We sat in a corner booth. Noah ordered the family platter before I could object. "We need enough for everyone," he said. "We are everyone," Claire replied. "Not necessarily." Lucy, now 6, nodded as though this made perfect sense. Halfway through dinner, I noticed a man near the door with 2 teenage boys. He spoke quietly to the hostess, then looked toward the exit. One of the boys stared at a plate passing by. Noah saw them too.
He leaned toward me, older now but still unable to ignore what adults train themselves not to see.
"Dad," he whispered, "I don't think they've eaten."
The old impulse rose in me, to decide, arrange, and rescue. Then I remembered. I waved to our waitress and asked, "Is the share the table account available tonight?" She nodded. "Would you tell that gentleman he can use it if he wants? And please tell him the offer comes from the restaurant, not from us." The waitress smiled. "Of course." Claire watched me. "What?" I asked. "You asked." "I am capable of growth." "Occasionally." The man listened to the waitress, his shoulders lowered. He nodded once, and she led him and the boys to a booth across the room. No applause followed. No one took a picture. The restaurant kept moving. Noah looked disappointed. "Aren't they going to sit with us?" he asked. "They might want their own table," Claire said. Lucy pushed the basket of biscuits toward the edge of ours. "In case they want honey," she said. Noah considered that, then took one biscuit and placed it on a clean side plate. "Jam is also okay," he announced. I looked around our table. Noah had grown taller. Lucy's braids were shorter. Claire wore the silver watch I had given her after asking whether gifts still made her uncomfortable. She had said some did, but that one would not. Her nursing textbooks were stacked in the trunk of her car. My wedding ring, which I had worn on a chain for years, now rested in a small wooden box at home beside Elena's old phone. Putting it there had not erased a life. It had acknowledged that mine was still moving. Claire slipped her hand into mine beneath the table. "The night we met, I believed I had stood because my son saw hunger. I understand now that he saw something larger. He saw two people separated from us by only a few feet and refused to accept that distance as permanent. But making room is not the same as taking control. Kindness is not measured by how quickly we act or how grateful someone appears afterward. Sometimes kindness is a question. Sometimes it is a chair pulled back without pressure. Sometimes it is the discipline to let another person choose the shape of the help they receive." The man across the restaurant caught my eye. He did not smile or nod. He did not owe me either. He turned back to his sons as the waitress set down 3 plates. That was enough. Outside, spring rain began tapping against the windows, soft and steady, almost exactly as it had 1 year earlier. Noah and Lucy argued about biscuits. Claire leaned her head against my shoulder. For the first time in years, I did not feel that loving someone new betrayed the person I had lost. Love had never been a room with one chair. It was a table. And the best tables were not filled by heroes. They were filled by people who asked, listened, made space, and stayed. Before you leave, tell us in the comments, when has someone helped you in a way that protected your dignity? And if this story reminded you that real kindness begins with respect, subscribe and join us for the next story.